What is up, everybody? How you guys doing? Let's get some love going on here. Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay. So, Gary, how you doing? Good.
A little tired, getting ready for that big trip to Montana on Wednesday.
Oh yeah. I didn't get accepted to that. I'm very bitter about that.
Oh, you're bitter?
Nah, I wanted to go for sure, but I'm glad they chose you because you're putting in a lot of work with all the elephants and all the sub 2 students. So today, guys,
I was shocked, frankly.
well, no, I think you deserve it. So Gary and I, we met quite a while back near the first Elephant Challenge. I started building my business around it with Gary, and then we kind of split off to do our own things, but we definitely did a lot of business because of it. And I mentioned that because in the very beginning, it was direct to MLS. And so what I wanted to talk to you guys today about was actually how to go after deals on the MLS. And why it's a good idea, why I think most people should start there. Okay. And I think that, if you're going after deals on the MLS, there's two things really that you need to consider. Number one, there's a ton of competition. Okay. It's not easy. It's going to be a grind, right? But number two, and most importantly, in my opinion, is that you're going to get way more reps when it comes to negotiating, underwriting, comping, all of these things that are essential to your, success in real estate. So you're just going to have more repetitions because of that. So that's kind of what I wanted to look at today. And I'm actually really happy that Gary's going to be here to give his 2 cents as well, because he is an agent and we refer to him as a unicorn agent. All right, so let me bring up this screen for you guys.
Horn, right?
What's that?
You can tell by the horn.
All right, let me share my screen with you. Hopefully I have the ability to do that. Can you turn on sharing for me?
Oh, you got to get this set up right.
Well, you're now the leader here.
Yeah.
I thought I set up the live correctly, but I guess I got to go back through the settings and see what I'm not doing correctly.
Okay, see if you can do it now.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys. So today, I thought we would jump in.
It's a Miro board.
Yes, sir.
I love Miro. That.
Could present this. Whoa. All right, so what we're going to do, and I'll just go through this real quick. If you're going to be hitting up MLS listings, one of my favorite ways to do this is actually set up Redfin notifications that come in via email, right? So the reason that this is important is that you're going to get them as soon as they're listed. And why you want to be quick or have speed to lead is that you want to be dealing with these agents firsthand. You want to have them represent you. And the reason that I say that is that you're going to have better communication. You're going to have more information about what offers may be on the table. And you have more leverage too. You can do things like have the agent double end it or waive buyer side commissions in certain circumstances. So really important that you're getting to those agents first before other people request representation from them. Okay. The second thing that you want to do is you want to enter these contacts and opportunity addresses inside of a CRM. Now, I understand that most of you may not have a CRM, and that's okay. But
spreadsheets work.
Spreadsheets work as well.
It's a good place to start. There are a lot of CRMs with free versions that you can start with.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I will be rolling out a version of the CRM that we have now for you guys very soon. I'm still working on it. It's pretty complicated. But just to get started, just like Gary said, a spreadsheet's just fine. I will say though, you guys, we have like hundreds of opportunities in our pipeline right now, and there's no way I'd be able to organize all of them without a piece of software that helps me do so. Okay, so we use LeadFix, which is a white labeled version of Go High Level. So basically, after we put that information in, what we want to do is we want to call the agents, and we want to get COMPT, comps, the condition, occupancy, motivation, price, and timeline. This is super important, guys. For some of you, this may seem like we're repeating ourselves, but you would be surprised. A lot of people forget some of these pieces. And if you don't have all of these pieces, you do not have an opportunity.
So
Day
this
two,
is
and this is
also known as what, Patrick?
the 4 pillars.
Four pillars, except you added one, didn't
I
you?
did. We're
You
on 5 now.
sneaky guy, you.
We're advanced now. We have 5 pillars. So this would be day 2 on a typical work week, right? So what I mean by that is now that you've got the contact information, you have got the opportunity inside of your CRM, you figured out what the 4 pillars are. Now what you're going to do is you're going to comp and underwrite those. And you could also do this at the end of the day or in the beginning of the morning, whatever. Generally, when I'm comping and underwriting, it's either like literally on a call or it's like my downtime. Okay. And so we're going to be using programs like Redfin, like PropStream and Privy to comp and underwrite. And we'll also be using Gary's deal analyzer to do so as well, to make sure that we know what our maximal allowable offer is. Once you have that, you want to call and either soft pitch that price or disqualify. And so if it's not a deal, why the hell would I call the agent? Well, to create a relationship. And so if I know that maybe there's a little bit of room on price, maybe there is no room on price, and my maximal allowable offer is way underneath what the seller wants, I'm just going to say, hey, John, I just wanted to give you a quick call. Thank you so much for taking my call today and the other day. I don't think I'm going to be able to make your seller happy, but this is the exact type of property I'm looking for. I would love to stay in contact with you in the future and just keep good rapport with that agent. Okay. Some of these opportunities won't work. I just took out 2 and 3 as an example here. And then we go into Dispo. So once you actually open escrow, this is when you get a verbal yes or a maybe. And this is kind of where it gets, at a starting, at a starting point, what I would say to you guys is that you should be working with somebody like me or another elephant leader to disposition your properties if you haven't already set this up. We have systems. I've got a full-time guy, and we've spent literally thousands of dollars setting up our systems so that we can actually dispo a property. But I wanted to briefly go over this so you guys have a general understanding of this. And Gary, if at any point in time you have something to add to this, please interrupt me as you normally do. So once you guys get a verbal yes or maybe, 2 things happen here. You're going to email them a price and terms, and you want to know what general terms are in your state. All right. So for California, it's 3-day EMD at 3%. What's the average inspection time? Is it like 17 days?
Yeah, that by default in California, 17 is the default on the state contracts.
Yeah, we don't ever do that. We usually do like 10 days or no, actually, sorry, excuse me. We do 7-day inspections because it's a cash offer. It's a quick cash offer. So, but know your terms, number one, in your state, the default terms. And also it's important to ask the agent what terms the seller's looking for. Are they an owner occupied? Do they need more time? How much time do they actually need to get out of the house? Is it a vacant house? Do they want a quick close? Do they want to close in 10 days? So price, inspections, and close of escrow, those are all of the things that you're going to need to email an agent to get the deal done. And then other considerations are waiving contingencies. Is there a rent back situation? Does the person in the property need to stay after you've closed escrow? Which, by the way, we do not do. We usually will just extend escrow in cases like that, especially in California. If you're in a red state, it might not be as much of a threat to you. And then cash for keys and deposits. Are there tenants involved? Do we need to pay to get the tenants out? Okay. All right. So how does this look? Well, basically what we have here is this top block is the transaction in escrow, and this bottom block is disposition. And you'll see that they're tandem to each other. So what does that mean? That means that when I have an opportunity and it smells like it's going to be an opportunity and I'm going to open escrow, I'm immediately talking to my dispo manager. I'm talking to him like, hey, this one looks like it's going to go under contract.
Wait a second, Patrick. You just start talking to your dispo manager before you're going into escrow, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Way before.
100%. If it, like I said, if it even starts to smell like it's going to go under contract, I'm immediately sending it over to my hound dog, my disposition manager, and he's going to tell me, all right, great, I'm on top of it. I'll tell him, get the wheels turning. And what he knows that means is that we're going to create a listing. So we're going to create a listing. We have property info files, which have pictures, videos of the property, the purchase agreement once we have it in signed, any inspections and or disclosures associated with that property are going to be in that folder. And then what my disposition manager is going to do is he's going to create a listing about all the information, that you would normally see on like Zillow. You're going to see all that information inside of our listing, any terms that the buyer needs to know. So you should have already established buyers in an area that you're working. And you want to make sure that when you are reaching out to new buyers, if you're doing stuff like investor lift, like we use investor lift occasionally, where you're putting it out on the website and you have inbound leads, you want to make sure that you're vetting your buyers, which basically means that you're asking them, what other projects have you done? And what's your entity name? Let me see your entity docs so that I can link the two and know that you are a legitimate buyer. So we vet all of our new buyers because you don't want them to waste your time. We've already had wholesalers come and waste our time. And we also had somebody try to double close on us and waste our time. So make sure you're vetting. So can you guys see this okay?
Does anybody have any questions at this point? It's a lot of information we're flowing here. Please just raise your hand so we know that you.
Yeah, thank you for stopping me.
Yeah.
You guys have questions?
Yeah, you're barely taking a breath in there. I'm afraid you're gonna.
I want to get some.
Hyperventilate or
I'm
something.
gonna take some action today. You know what I mean? Get through this real quick. Are you guys good? Okay. All right. So you'll see that these are kind of in conjunction with each other. So for you, and you got to know this process in each state, guys. So if you don't,
I think you mean comping.
Where?
We don't clump.
What do you mean?
Joe's asking, what is clump? Yeah, I'm in the car. What is clumping? I think we're talking about comping.
Yeah, most likely comping. So if you're looking at this, you'll see that it's kind of in conjunction with disposition, right? So, and again, you've got to know your state and how the transactions work. So in California, 3 days is usually the window of time that you have to deposit EMD. And this starts as soon as you have a signature from that seller, then the next day is when your timeline starts. And that can even vary depending upon the agent and escrow, but 3 days. Now, if we don't put EMD in and we don't find a buyer and we cancel, there's really no risk in California. They just move on, right? So you haven't deposited any money. Now, if you do deposit money, then you have skin in the game and you have money in escrow. And what could happen if they don't want to cancel, let's say you want to cancel the transaction and they refuse to sign, you might have to go to mediation and arbitration to get that money back. So your EMD is at risk here. Now, if you cancel within the contingency, technically you're within your rights to cancel and it should be a mutual cancellation, but again, they have to sign. Okay. So
some states require 2 signatures, like California. Other states only require 1. Some states will allow you to add provisions in the contract to override that requirement. If you do that in California, the escrow company's going to look at you and say, sorry, you can put whatever you want in that contract, but we have to follow the rules of the state.
Right. And it's in California, that's funny because I see it all the time, non-refundable EMD, and it just doesn't work that way. So just know your state, know how it works. In some states, you can deposit it and unilaterally cancel and there's no recourse. So again, know your state. So at the bottom here, you can see that as soon as we know what's going on, there's a listing, we're showing buyers the property. Ideally, there will be a lockbox on this property. If not, if the agent needs to show it, then you want to instruct that buyer that they are to present themselves as your partner. And you might think, well, why won't they just go around me? Well, remember, you've got other buyers, right? So just tell them that these are potential partners. And that's usually what I tell agents too. And I've actually been at properties with agents and have like 5 people show up and they're like, who are all these people? And I'm like, potential partners. These guys are all bidding on whether or not they're going to do this project with me. And at that point, the agent's like, well, damn, okay, cool. You're legit, right? Inside of this inspection contingency window, we're still showing the property. I will call and check to see and double check that escrow can actually handle an assignment. Believe it or not, I've spoken with escrow officers who are like, we don't do that. So you want to make sure that if they do say that, you know how to navigate it. And generally what I'll do, and I've actually experienced this, where I'll tell them, well, we do this a lot. This is how we structure all of our deals. How can we navigate this situation? And so just don't lose your temper. Always be professional, always be cool. And remember, at the end of the day, escrow wants to cover their ass. They don't want to get in trouble, right? There's a lot of protective classes. They have to really play by the rules. So if anything that's unusual to them, they're usually not going to want to do it. But if you can present a way around it, in one case, one of these escrow officers was like, well, if you write up a invoice, then that'll show there's a paper trail. And I was like, okay. In my head, I'm like, that makes no sense at all. But great, I'm going to do it. And we did. So we created an invoice and we got paid. Right. So
Another great way to avoid this problem is to use an escrow company that you know will work with you.
one,
And a lot of,
100%.
and I want to inject something here, if you'll let me, Patrick. A
No,
lot
please.
of, the only people who really care about which escrow company that is going to handle the transaction usually are just the real estate agents, because we all have our relationships. My relationships based on with my preferred escrow agent is based on her competency level for doing creative deals. Also, if you're a flipper, as I have been, and you don't want to be the new customer for the escrow company every time you do open a transaction, because you have to provide them with your LLC docs, your operating agreement. You have to go through this whole onboarding process over and over again.
Yep.
So some of the ways to win the argument about what escrow we're going to use is, number one, the buyer's paying for it, so we get to choose.
Yep.
And don't tell me that that's not true. So in many cases in these wholesale deals, we are offering to pay all closing costs, in which case we get to pick the escrow company. If a seller ever says to you that you've got to use our escrow company, then look at them and say, okay, you've got to pay for it. And what do you mean we've got to pay for it? Well, that's what RESPA says. RESPA, the RESPA is a federal law. It is the Real Estate Settlement Process Act, RESPA. So that was passed back in the 70s. It was to stop all the payola and payoffs for realtors steering transactions into their preferred escrow companies or title companies, insurance companies, and getting kickbacks. That was it was a lot of corruption there. So these are ways that you can control the narrative when that happens. If you happen to be a flipper, you can look at them and say, look, I've got to close this twice. You only got to close it once. So, and I want to work with the same title company because there's an economy for me to use the same title company, because I can buy a title binder and I don't have to go through this, pay for the full process the second time when I sell it.
Yep.
There are a lot of arguments to take control of the escrow decision.
Yep.
And
And
a regularly scheduled Patrick.
yeah, and guys, everything that he said was super, super important, because that's one less conversation you have to have, right? Which will make the transaction go smoother. When you have a escrow company that you trust, that they do what they're supposed to do, they know what they're doing, they communicate well, everything goes a lot smoother. So the tips that he was giving you are very, very important. Saying like, look, we have a binder with them. We have a special relationship with them. It's just convenient for us. We're paying escrow fees. All of those points are really important. And so just so you guys know, this is still happening. This corruption behind driving traffic to escrow companies is literally happening as we speak. Somebody's making money because they're pulling a transaction into an escrow company. So it's happening. Just be aware of it. And then some certain areas, like, so if you're in California, for example, Northern California will pre-open escrow almost on every transaction. Southern California, they won't. But it's still the same conversation, guys. Okay, so check with escrow, see if they can handle an assignment. As soon as you have a buyer willing to purchase, that's like when you want to do that. Because the conversation that you're going to have at that point is you're going to have to call the agent and talk to them about the assignment. And so this is called an AOAA if you're working with an agent in California. And basically, this is a document assigning the rights of the contract to your end buyer. Okay.
Assignment of agreement addendum.
Yep, exactly. That's the AOAA. Now, believe it or not, some agents don't even know how this works, and they've never done it. So it's important to reach out to somebody like me or somebody who else has worked with agents in the state that you're working in so that you can see what this document looks like. I've actually had to send it to 3 agents. I've had to send document. I'm not an agent, but I've had to send this document to agents to show them, look, this is what it looks like. This is how it's filled out. And it's actually quite simple, but they might need guidance. So just be ready for that. But again, guys, if you're new, don't worry too much about this stuff. The point is working with elephant leaders to help you out with this, but I want you to be educated and aware that there are very specific steps to this entire process. Okay, so as soon as that buyer is ready to deposit EMD and the AOA signed, now what you're going to do is you're going to coordinate with the escrow company. You're going to call them and you're going to say, hey, my partner is actually going to be depositing EMD. We need what's called a third-party deposit instruction form. And they'll handle it from there. All you got to do is link up the buyer with escrow, and then they'll ask the buyer for all their information, all the entity docs, so on and so forth. And at this point, the AOA should already be signed, and escrow will have that as well. And yeah, so that's basically the way that looks. And then at that point, you're just in communication with escrow to see when they close. Okay, so I'm going to pause there real quick because this is its own. You basically have 2 pieces here, guys. Why isn't this working? You basically have this piece, which is acquisitions. And then as soon as you hit escrow, this is a whole new world. These are 2 worlds. They live in tandem. This is disposition. All right. Okay. Let's see who's got a. All right. So no questions. Cool. All right. So today, let's find some deals. Let's run through this. Let's see if I can exit out of here. So real simple, guys. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally run you through this process. Santa Clara County. I like Santa Clara County. I'm going to open up my CRM. And what I'm looking for is fixers. So I'm going to filter. If it'll let me. I'm going to look for single family houses and time on Redfin. I want less than 14 days. I'll tell you this, in California, and this probably is the case all across the country, but if it's a fixer upper and it's older than 14 days, it's probably not an opportunity because all the real opportunities go under contract super fast. I'm talking really, really fast. Dale, you got a question, bud?
Well,
What's up, brother?
I don't know. I mean, maybe a question. I have a property. It's in a neighborhood I've known my whole life, and it's.
Okay.
I think it's a deal. I just went and did a walkthrough today. I was going to offer it up as you know a case for the forum to evaluate if that's good or not. I'm okay with it not, but I am.
Is it on market?
Yeah, just like, within the past less than a day, it's been on the market. I grew up with the agent. I didn't know that before I, was calling her. I was like, oh, Tara, okay,
Oh, super cool.
Anyway, do you want to go to the address or
Sure.
How do you want to do that?
Sure, why not? Let's do it.
I mean, I'm kind of in a situation right now where I haven't done a deal yet, but I've been studying for a while, and I kind of interested in doing a rehab flip, but I don't have to. I figure the situation will inform, the opportunity really, rather than me trying to force a solution on whatever.
I completely agree with you, and I would say that wholesale is a lot less risky than flipping a property for your first transaction.
That's true. And although this is definitely a great opportunity for a flip, it's probably going to take about $100,000 to fix. I mean,
What's the address?
It's a time. What's the address here? Hold on a second. The address is 3903 Shady Valley Drive, Arlington,
Oh,
Texas,
Arlington, Texas.
760. There you go.
Cool.
So there are no pictures. I don't think there are any more pictures of the property. I have pictures. I did a walkthrough. I did a whole bunch of pictures on the inside. It is a total time capsule. All the bathrooms are going to be redone. The floor is going to be redone. It does need about. It's going to need a little foundation work. Me and the agent both know the guy who did the foundation quote. It's going to be about $14,000. It's going to need a little bit of everything. I don't know if there's anything else to see other than was it important
why there's
to be
no
able to see pictures of it in order to do a proper evaluation?
Do you know why there's no pictures?
I do not.
What's the RV, Dale?
The after reval was probably going to be at around. Now there aren't super identical comps available, but somewhere between 425 to 480. And I know that sounds like a pretty big gap.
It's a huge gap.
That's a big gap, but here, and I'll explain it. You see that one right there? It says 405. Right there, that property 405. Now, jumping that boulevard, that's a parkway, that parkway. The neighborhood that's in is comparable to that neighborhood. It just jumps the boulevard. As you can see, the green space to the north of that 405, that's a golf course and a green space. And the neighborhood right nestled up into that golf course is very desirable. That's where I am right now. Those comps are not going to be the same as the property in question. They're just not identical. I think.
What do you think the repairs are going to be?
I think the repairs are going to be around $100,000.
Okay, so are you able to get it for less than 280?
Maybe. I think there's a lot of attention on it. I've kind of been preparing to, she'll probably wrap up. She'll probably choose an offer sometime tomorrow. She said night, probably at the end of the day or the next day. I was thinking I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, is it foolish to offer asking price even at that?
So here's the deal with that.
I think it would be if you're only at 4.25 ARV. If you're actually at the high side of what you gave us, then I think it's an okay price.
Yeah.
But I would want to be at 240 if 4.25 was my top end.
Okay.
Why is this saying three beds on public record and it's saying 5 on here?
I know. So per my walkthrough, I think those are just little rooms that were made into bedrooms. It does have a lot of bathrooms, so I don't know. They're kind of small. Even the master bedroom is not huge. I mean, I guess it's standard master bedroom size, but it's not.
What you want to ask on this is like what's permitted, what's not.
What do you mean what's permitted, what's not?
If there's any additions, like what? So whenever I see discrepancies
What
with
does the assessment records say when it comes to bedrooms?
what are you asking me to do right now?
What does the assessor's records say, Dale?
I think the assessors from a long time ago, I think it started out as a 3-bedroom, 3-bath.
What does it say on PropStream, Patrick?
It says 3 blank.
And now I mean, there's definitely 4 baths in the room, and they didn't look added.
4 bedrooms until full, then it says here 4 bedrooms, not 5. Why is that contradicting it?
I honestly, I mean, in my opinion, I didn't know this family. I think I don't know why I didn't know them. I don't know why.
So I'm going to back up and I'm going to give you some very broad tools that'll help you with wholesale. Okay.
Right.
So first of all, let's address perception of the seller or the buyer. If you're going to go to dispo this and you have it locked up, there's 2 things that you want to consider. And I didn't mention this in the timeline here, but somewhere around this point right here, you want to ask them to withdraw this listing status, which means take it off. So this says off market.
Right.
So right about the point where you're going to get it under contract, you want to have that conversation with them. And this is how I usually handle that conversation.
Okay.
I'll say, what's her name? Tara. Hey, Tara, I'm actually working with some private money lenders on this, and they're pretty biased when it comes to on-market properties. Can you do me a favor? Just while I have a conversation with them for a few days, could you actually withdraw this listing and just make sure that
on hold, which has the same effect.
Say again?
Putting it on hold has that effect.
Right. Hold, withdrawn, those types of statuses. That's what you want. You don't want it to say active. That's the first thing. The second thing, although you do that, you might be able to see a listing history with this one. So if a seller sees you trying to sell this at or above their asking price, the perception is it's not a deal, right? That's not always the case. We've actually sold deals where it's above asking and there's a listing history with it. So it's not always the case. However, you want to make this as smooth as possible. You want to create as much demand as possible. So ideally you would get it under ask.
Okay. I think there's only been one owner of the house, this family. I think they built.
There's only been what?
One owner, the one family owner. Yeah, I think they built the house in 1979 or 6.
It was built in 73 and they bought it in 75. Didn't I read that in the copy?
Is that what you read?
I thought somewhere.
73. Okay, yeah, there you go. Sure.
Then it may as well have been the first owner.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking. Can I give you a couple of addresses of comps to see what you think about the comps, to see whether get your professional opinion on reasonability of the ARV?
Sure.
I guess I have specific addresses.
I gotta say, we're a little handicapped here, Dale, without having pictures of the inside of this.
I know. I can email them to you real quick. I can give you the Dropbox and maybe you can put them up on your screen. You may do that.
Oh, so they actually sent you pictures?
No, I took them today.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, yeah, put it in the chat.
You want me to share? Oh, put them in the chat. Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, Patrick will share.
All right. Share.
But if for those of you listening and watching here, if there are no pictures, that's one question that I ask. I'll ask the agent, is there a reason there are no pictures? Because usually that's going to tell me something. It's going to tell me maybe it's really bad shape. Maybe there's a tenant involved. And that's going to give me more information about exit strategy, timelines, so on and so forth.
Well, also with 70s homes, you never know if the floor plan is going to hurt you.
That's just some of the old classic features I took pictures of.
Looks more open than not.
So when I'm walking a home, I'm looking for a few things in particular. I'm looking for cracks.
Yeah.
In doorways and headers.
Yeah, there are a few cracks I got pictures of.
Yeah, that can relate to shifting, or it could actually be structural and or foundation issues. That's going to be the biggest thing that's going to throw off your numbers.
Yeah.
Is this place really as pink as it appears to be?
It's salmon, Gary.
It is. It was a little shocking. I wouldn't quite sure
like
about
a
that choice.
barn.
Maybe that's, you
Or
know,
like
wh-
a German Hofbräu.
why I didn't know them socially. We had completely different tastes. But look at that carpet too, that shag. It's pretty,
So it's
and then
gonna need all the
popcorn.
things.
There's,
This is
see, there's a little bit of
everything.
that.
That's a
Yeah.
little scary because we see that there's definite water damage there.
Yeah. Now, Joe Hall roofers did give an estimate. They looked into that and they, for whatever reason, they have to look and they quoted 650 for that deal. The foundation estimate was done but it was put in at 13.5. You know, there may end up being a plumber situation needing after the foundation is fixed for old pipes.
Okay, so the footprint is 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
I think your reno is gonna be more than 100K.
You think so?
I think so.
What are you thinking?
Well, I don't know the.
I mean, it's all of it's gonna almost a gut job, you know, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
And you're gonna find some things.
Well, you don't
totally.
need to tear out all the sheetrock, but in some of those rooms, you'll want to put sheetrock where there isn't any, with
Uh-huh.
wood paneling.
Mhm.
Has this got a single HVAC system?
Two, no, double. One for upstairs, one for down. The one for upstairs is gonna need a new compressor or a new unit.
Well, if it's, you can't replace a half a system these days because of the change in Freon.
Uh-huh.
So you have to replace the entire system.
Okay, so your question is today, what do I need to do? What's the next step?
Well, I guess, you know, running it past your more experienced eyes, my first question was relative to the comps and the repair value, or at least remodel costs, which, you know, I
think you're looking
think
at
it's
like
at least
150.
100. I mean,
I think you're looking at probably 150 here.
you
What's
think
the
so?
yeah? What's the address that you were gonna give me?
I've got a couple of them here. The one right down the street is 3701 Shady Valley Drive, 76013.
Why am I not seeing it on my list?
Hey, guys, everybody, are you getting getting any value from this?
3705.
Say yes in the chat.
3701, sorry.
Broadway. What was the
Shady Valley Court? No, Shady Valley Drive, sorry.
Great.
Arlington, Texas. Yeah. Is that right? So this is sort of a already fixed up one at around it's just down the street. 473 is this estimate. And I think Redfin had it at, I don't know, around 431 as an estimated value.
Why is this not popping up as a comp?
I don't know.
When did it sell? Do you have the time frame?
Let me double check real quick. This one, let's see, listing history, sold in 2019.
There you go.
So that's not a comp.
Not really, I guess, is it? Because before, that's just right when things were heating up, or 2019.
Well, we really.
Why did you think that was a comp?
It's on the same street. I mean, it's on the same street. What do I have here?
The reason I
Relative
ask is
same year
because
build, 4.3. What else did I think about it? How many square feet is it? Let's see, 2807 versus 2559. After repair values comp. 2807 versus 2559. 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 28 I got 3 or 4 other properties too that I thought were maybe better. I mean, if you can find better comps, I would love to see them, but they're a little hard to find around there.
Is this a 2-story?
That is a single story.
Okay.
Oh, that one? You mean the one I just showed you?
This one sold for 405. It looks like it was.
You should compare 2-story to 2-story, single story.
Yeah,
Oh, this is yeah, you're right.
yeah.
That's not a good sign. I mean, this is dated with a new kitchen. The problem here is I'm not seeing a lot of liquidity. I'm not seeing a lot of trading happening in this area.
Uh-huh.
Don't
And-
forget that Texas is a non-disclosure state, Patrick. So
Yeah.
without direct MLS access, it's really difficult to tell.
Yeah. But what I'm seeing on public record.
Yeah, public record, non-disclosure. So we're lucky to.
So it's not just me. This is a little bit of a not an easy cut, right? I mean, other than the fact that, yeah, it's
Well, so look,
Yeah,
if you're so
at
here's the
least
thing.
$100,000.
If you're working, one of the things you guys want to consider and remember is that if you're working with agents, use them, utilize them, right?
Mhm.
So what I would do is ask her for comps. And we do this all the time because if we get an address from an agent,
Uh-huh.
it's usually off market. And if we get an off market and they're like, well, the resale value is X, we'll be like, and it doesn't seem like it makes sense. We'll be like, great, send us some comps so that we can see where their head's at. Number one, but number two, utilize them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing this, let's see. If we were to take, let's just go with one of the highest ones and see if we're close. The problem here,
What's his pickup price?
we don't know yet.
Let's
Okay.
pick up. What do you mean pickup price?
What are you buying it for?
Maximum allowable offer. So these are pretty close, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we take a look, this one sold for 412. I'm not seeing anything above that in this area. Sell for that amount.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious as to what this one looks like. And really what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to find something that's retail ready.
Mhm.
Is it going to be one of those situations where we can't see pictures? Texas, dude.
Yeah, see if comp.
I think you need to make friends with the agent. Maybe this is your opportunity to.
I mean, I'm friendly with her, we talked about comps and she just kind of said she couldn't really find any really good comps. And
That's
I
not a
didn't-
sign.
yeah,
Well, you got some pictures here.
that's a much bigger house, isn't it?
What's the size of that house?
It's actually smaller.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that block, but that's interesting.
This
Okay.
this technically isn't a comp,
Yeah.
but I'm looking for something retail ready.
This looks
You-
retail.
Yeah.
It's staged. It is.
Yeah. This is
Mhm.
definitely retail ready.
They preserve some of the original characteristics.
That's a
Mhm.
2-story.
Um,
So you could technically go off square footage, but I wouldn't exceed anything in the area, and that's going to be a
Uh-huh.
tough sell to your buyers if that's how you're calculating it. Generally,
Uh-huh.
they want to see a direct comp.
Yeah. So
And
even if I was like, all right, it's going to be a lot to rehab this thing, at least $100,000, right? To make it decent or
I think
nice.
150.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd
So
say
150.
100 plus your foundation, plus your HVAC,
Uh-huh.
plus your roof.
So even if I was just going to try and wholesale this, it might be a hard sell.
Well,
just
I think you're right on 4.25. We're not looking at 4.8. I don't see any indication of 4.80 being the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd want to be in the, they're asking 280, I'd probably want to be closer to 200, between 2 and 40 on that,
Okay.
to attract a fix and flipper,
Okay.
unless you want to do the project yourself.
You know, I don't know if I want to do that big of a project.
What's the year built on that comp?
You talking to me?
Yeah, what's the year built?
1968.
Okay, interesting that it's a mansard style.
So let's just say what we're at here. We were at 430. And this would be pretty damn conservative.
I'm still using an old version of this.
Yeah. What's their asking price?
280.
280. And then we thought maybe this is conservative, so 430. Reno 150. Probably more. Wholesale discount. I don't really know the closing costs inside of this state, but I'm just going to go in at 83.
Okay.
So without even a wholesale fee in here, I'm at 206.
Uh-huh.
So I want to make probably, I don't know, let's say 10 grand on this.
Yeah.
It's about right. So you're at like 196,
Okay.
but you're about 83 under ask.
So this is where you stop and say, let's watch this one. But you know, the thing is, what I'm seeing in the market right now, there are so many end buyers that are so frustrated that they can't buy properties right now that they're going for these fixers.
Uh-huh.
They're just going to live in them and fix them up over time, do some, initial work. And so that type of buyer will pay the money. That's what I'm seeing happening here in California.
Interesting.
But, I don't have my eye on the rest of the markets.
Yeah.
But I suspect that the same is happening everywhere if it's happening here.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
what's the
real,
motivation?
that's been real helpful to see you guys kind of launder this. And
Why are they selling? Bill?
Pardon me?
Why are they selling?
The matriarch is in a nursing home.
Got it.
Good reason.
Yep.
Great reason.
Yeah.
What's the timeline?
For
When do they want to sell by?
ASAP. Tara says she's pretty much, I mean, I don't know if she's just saying it to say it, but she was like, I asked her, how long are you going to be taking offers? She goes, we'll wind up, what do we have over the next 24 hours and probably just accept something tomorrow night or the next morning.
Okay, that's a timeline.
Clearly, the house is vacant. They're ready to sell.
Yeah, they've already had a state in the sale and everything. They've gotten everything out.
Yeah. So what you just said is a timeline. So those of you who are listening and watching, if anybody ever tells you ASAP, that's not a timeline.
Okay.
So normally what I'll ask is when you reviewing and accepting, if there's an agent involved.
Uh-huh.
And then if it's a seller, then it's the same kind of question. But when do you want to close escrow? When do you want to open escrow? Those are the types of questions you want to ask and why.
Okay.
Somebody says, well, as soon as possible, I just need this number, then that's not a timeline.
I see.
But yeah, I mean, I would say if there's room on price, tell them, well, look, and you want to be able to break these numbers down. So, number one, it's been hard to find a comp. I'm seeing an ARV of 430. There's going to take at least 100. By the way, I'm going to wrap this into this when I talk about my renovation.
Uh-huh.
I'm seeing an ARV of 430. I'm going to need to spend about 160 on reno. And then I've got, a target price of 10% net, as well as 7% closing, holding, and other fees associated with the purchase of this property. So I got to come in at 83%, which leaves me with my 196 mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know we're considerably under your ask. However, if your seller's willing to work with an investor, that's what those numbers are going to look like.
Mhm.
And then, so for me, usually the conversation, you got to get to the reality of the situation. So if you hear an agent say, well, we're waiting for somebody who wants to move into it and fix it up, is that realistic? Right? Like if we go to Dropbox, is that a realistic situation for this
Not
house?
for this house, no.
Then you got to bring it up.
Yeah.
Bring it up. This isn't livable. I don't see that as a market for this. I don't see you selling to somebody who's going to do that.
Right.
But I've got 190 cash now, and I can close as fast as you want. This is vacant. I always use that as a selling point too.
Yeah.
People ask
So
me
if I were,
close, and I say, well, how fast can escrow finish the paperwork?
uh-huh.
That's how fast.
No harm in throwing out some sort of seller finance on the table too, I guess, is there? I mean,
Well,
I don't know, man.
I'm,
I don't ever
is that
do.
ridiculous?
Well, look, is it a flip? Is this a flip? Yes or no? Is this purely, I mean, like when you're looking at this, is this a fixer?
Yeah.
Then it's not seller finance. I mean,
Okay.
you could potentially set up a seller finance deal and find a
Uh-huh.
cash buyer who wants that type of deal,
Uh-huh. I
but
see. I got you. Yeah.
they're probably going to want to cash out, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
what benefit is there,
of course
right?
you
Because
want to cash out, of course.
yeah, generally, yeah. So for me, seller finance deals only make sense typically if I'm going to hold it, or if I'm going to assign that to somebody to hold.
I
And
see.
what I want is low capex. So I'm thinking like 10% of the value of the house is what's going to go into it with agent fees, closing costs, and reno. So there's about 150K of reno here. We're way off.
Grandma's going to need the money to pay for her, whatever her living circumstances are now.
That's right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So have we beat this horse enough?
Thank
Yep.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you guys. That's real helpful.
Tell her you got
I have that
195
worksheet.
cash burning a hole in your pocket.
We got another question from Joe Heinen. So let's bring Joe
Joe,
up.
what up, dude?
Hello, question. So going way to the beginning, if the agent doesn't want to put it on hold or take it off the market for a little bit, is it just a done deal after that? Then you just watch it for a few weeks?
Well, if you're having that conversation with them, they're probably interested in your offer, right? So what I tell them is like, look, we're working with private money lenders. If you could do that for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it for you.
Well, they'll do hold instead of under contract.
Say again?
They'll do hold instead of under contract.
Exactly.
Right. That's what you're asking me to do, is not leave it active under contract, but put it on hold so it looks like it disappeared. So it's not still on Zillow. It's not still on Redfin. All the syndicators, it's yanked.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Is that it? Okay.
All right, guys, any questions about
Where were we?
what we've covered so far?
Yeah, well, you're in the middle of it.
All right, let me close some of these windows. Remember, guys, close your windows down. It's important. All right, so basically, if I'm looking for fixer opportunities, that's exactly what I want to see, a visual audit of something that is a fixer. So these are the ones that I'm looking at here in Santa Clara County. And again, I'm just filtered by fixers and 14 days old or younger. And I'm looking through, this is definitely a fixer. This is a high price point. So I'm wondering if this is actually way overpriced and what the situation is. We've also got this little guy down here. Again, it's dated. It's kind of beat up a little bit. Looks like they tried to do some do-it-yourself in here in the bathroom. Lovely tile. So yeah, this might be an opportunity. So real quick, I'm not going to spend a ton of time comping this, to be honest with you guys, but I do want to see if it's in that 60 to 70% range. So I know what I'm getting into when I make this phone call. The other thing that I'm looking at is the copy. So I'm looking for hot terms like fixer upper. So this, our handyman special, right? It's probably more than handyman special, but at least this agent understands that this is that type of opportunity. Okay. So we're a 3-2 at 800. Let me see if I could find any information inside of Privy. And again, I'm bouncing back and forth between Privy, Redfin, and PropStream.
Okay.
I'm going to put this in PropStream. Just, I want to see if there's a note on it. Why is that important, guys? In the chat, why is knowing what is owed on the property important? Can anybody tell me? It's free and clear. It's important because if they owe more than we can pay for it, it's not a deal, right? All right, so it's free and clear. That's cool. Let's take a look. I just want to see, I'm not, you know what? I'm not even going to go in and comp it really. I'm just going to say 3-2 at 800, and I'm going to see what's selling in that area at average. That's it. This is shotgun. Right. So I've got 1 in a million, 1 at 9. And this little cluster here. This one sold, looks like as is, bought with Redfin. 730 as is. These ones are retail ready-ish. Wow, beautiful. So 900, 1 million. And so we're at, what did I say? 800. So we're smaller than this one that sold for 9.
You do
This-
not have to do this as fast as Patrick does. Not everybody can shotgun the way he can.
Yeah, but and let's just keep it simple, right? So I found one at 9. Oops, this one's all the
Yeah.
way.
You've got a good one at 9, good one at 1 million.
Yeah. And this is way bigger. So I think really, realistically, if we're using this one at 9, because we're at 9, this one, excuse me, our comp is at 980 and our subject is at 800. So that's pretty close. We'll just use that number and be aggressive.
Well, that's a 3-1. The subject's a 3-2.
Right.
3-2 is way more desirable.
Right. So if we split the difference, then we're at 950. So let's go 950 times 0.7. We're at 665. So we're close. So this might be actually a potential deal. So I am going to call this guy.
Wednesday, July 26th. That's tomorrow, right?
What what does it say? Offers are due?
Yeah.
Where does it say that?
Review of all offers will take place on Wednesday, July, the first line there.
Oh, and all in caps. How did I miss that?
Good question.
That's a great question. All right, so I don't think I got this guy in my CRM yet. No, I don't. All right, so I'm going to add him in, and he's provided his number, which, John, I greatly appreciate. Let's see if we can get him on the phone. That's another struggle that you will encounter.
You know, even as an agent, I'll text them first, say, hi, so Gary from Fathom Realty here. When's a good time to talk to you about? And I'll very frequently get a text now. But if I just dial in, I get no answer, right?
So technically this is, so we know it's a trust sale because I can see on record it's a trust.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, doesn't mean anything. All right, so now that I've got this in here, I'm actually going to add it into my pipeline. Acquisitions, new lead. I'm going to put the address in here, open. I think I'd probably get $30,000 out of this one. And this is literally, if I'm going to make a call, that's it. I'm going to go through those points and I'm going to see if John is available to talk. So give me 1 second here, guys. And I'm going to mute you guys so it won't come through. Oops. John Bowen.
I'll mute myself.
I'm sorry, I can't answer it right now. Please leave your name, number, and a detailed message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you. The mailbox is full and cannot.
Of course it is.
Text him.
Very important to me, and I'm sorry I can't answer it right now.
That wasn't a text.
All right, I'm going to text him. He's not answering the phone. It's going straight to voicemail. So when I text and or call people, I use my full name. Why do I do that? Oh, I got nothing to hide. And I want them to know that. Full transparency. Your listing. But basically, guys, conversation happens the same way every single time. I know this guy's getting blown up right now. And realistically, you know, I am actually late to the game because we're on what, day 9. I want to get to him on day like 1, day 2, day 3. If you've got your filter set up, you should be getting emails just like this. Right, Gary, you can unmute yourself, buddy. I get nervous when I don't hear your voice. But you have all of these to call on. And so basically the conversation is, hey, John, I'm just calling about your listing on Sanborn Avenue. Look, I just have a few quick questions. I'm looking for a project in the area and this looks great. Can you tell me anything about the foundation or the roof? Are there any major issues I need to know about? And they're going to basically say one of two things. They're going to either launch into giving you information, they're going to be easy to talk to, or they're going to be an agent who is not easy to talk to. And they're going to say, I'm not an expert. You need to walk it or look at the disclosures. And they're going to say something like that. If they say that, great. Can you send me the disclosures? I'd love to take a look. Here's my email. And if they ask you, well, we're not taking blind offers, you need to walk it. You say, okay, cool. I would love to walk it. And before we do, I just need a little bit more information so that I can know that we're close on price. Now, if we're close on price, John, I would love to come down there and actually inspect the property, but that's not how we operate. I don't typically drop everything that I'm doing just to walk a property. So that all being said, do you have a couple minutes just to answer a few quick questions? Condition, occupancy, is this occupied? It looks like it's vacant. Is that the case? Okay, great. Then from there, you're going to go back through in motivation. This is an interesting looking house. Can you tell me? I'm just curious. Why are they selling? It's probably going to be something about someone's departed because it's a trust. And then, all right. So I noticed that you had this timeline for Wednesday. Has anything changed or is that the same timeline? Awesome. After that, it's price. Okay. So I see you have this listed at $650. Is that firm or is there room on that? And then because it's on market, he's probably going to say something like, oh, we've already got offers over ask. And so that's going to tell you exactly where you need to be. So as mentioned, I'm probably too late to this game, but I'll see if I can give him a call another time. All right, so any questions so far on that, guys? In the chat, if you've called an agent with an on market, say yes. If you've never spoken with an agent, say no. Okay, some of you haven't done it yet. Most of you have. Cool. Yep. Mostly yes is good. That's great. Sweet. Cool. All right, let's see if we can find somebody else. All right, so again, I'm just going to click on University Ave. I think this one's not in our pipeline. All right, so we're at 1.3. It's a 3-1 at 12.
We have a hand raised when you get a chance.
Oh, it's Luisa. Let's chat. What's up, girl? Luisa's one of our biggest fans. You want to unmute?
All right. Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you
Hi,
now.
guys.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. So if we are doing a wholesale deal like that, so we actually don't need a much big spread. Is that right? I don't know, because if we're going to find a buyer after that, so let's say if the seller is asking for, let's say, 100,000, so we can just go down to like 850. No, 100,000, so 85,000, is that right? So we can get it like, okay, maybe 1 million, and then we can just get, oh, let's say 20,000 as our spread. Is that good enough?
Luisa, I think
Okay,
you've had more
sorry.
coffee than I have today.
Oh, sorry. Haven't had mine
hopefully
yet.
not more than I've had, but
Yeah. So you're kind of jumping around and throwing. Normally I can retain a bunch of numbers in my head, but let's rewind and go back to your question, and let's try to create a little bit more clarity around the question. So
Okay.
were you referring about this property that I was just looking at?
Well, any
Are you
properties.
just a random number?
Yes, random number.
Okay, so go ahead and shoot me those numbers again. What's your
Okay.
question?
Right. So if a property is listed 1 million,
Okay.
and let's say if we are looking like getting 20,000 as our wholesale fee, so basically then that property that we're gonna like lowball the seller.
We don't ever lowball anybody. We offer an appropriate amount of money for a fixer and an investor situation.
Right. Okay.
Very
and-
important. Don't ever use lowball when you're
Yeah,
talking to
true.
agents and sellers.
That's
Sorry,
true.
go ahead.
Okay, so then basically maybe we can just offer them 960 or 980. So then as long as we get the wholesale fee, roughly, let's say, if we're happy with 20,000, and then maybe some closing costs, whatever, would that be fair enough?
I think
then
you're
we can flip it.
oversimplifying it because it's
Oh.
contextual based on renovation.
Mm,
Right. Let's take this one, for example. Okay. Because I think this will help you, because you're asking very general questions, but it's on a case-by-case basis. Because if it was an off-market property and for whatever reason it didn't need much work, and the seller was just motivated to sell for cash, then that might be the situation. But let's take this one, for example, right? So our asking is 649. And we thought the ARV was, let's just say 950. So now we need to figure out, well, how much is it going to cost to rehab it? Because it's a full rehab job, right? And let's just assume there's no problems with the roof and foundation. All we need to do is update it, bring it from dated to new. We're at 810. So I'm going to take that number. I'm going to multiply it by $60 a square foot. So now we're at $48,000. I'm going to say it's going to be, let's just go 55. Okay. And our fee, let's say we want to make $10,000. Generally how I calculate this fee, guys, is on points. If it's like under 800K, I'm usually going on points. If it's above that $1 million, I might do double the points. But like, so 3% of our MAO would be like 21K. Right. So actually I could bump this up. Let's go 20K.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
So now we're basically our MAO is 713. So what you're not accounting for, at least from what I'm hearing, maybe I'm missing something, but it's not as simple as just kind of going, well, there's a spread between the asking and the resale value, and I just want to make a little bit of money, and this might work, because it's got to work for both parties. And so inside of the spreadsheet, that's why we have percentage of ARV, because that's really high for a buyer, right? Generally, they want to be in 60, 70%. And this amount under ask also is kind of high. So this might not be a deal, but we want to take into consideration our repairs, our fee, and the wholesale discount, which is comprised of two things: closing, holding, and fees associated with the transaction, 7% in this, and then 10% net profit to that end buyer. So we have to take this 83% of what we think retail value is, and then we're subtracting our repairs and our assignment fee. Is that helpful?
Okay, got it. Yeah, got it. Thank you. So I guess I better do that. I was watching one of Jamil's, they were doing a call, and so they made it so simple. They were just calling the MLS and calling the broker, and they just make a discount. But I guess I forgot to look at the ARV, so that's why. But yeah, thank you.
I mean, you can approach it that way, but what's going to happen is you're going to be locking up a lot of contracts, and you're not going to be able to dispo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why wholesaling gets a bad, and again, I'm not saying that you're doing this or you're giving wholesale a bad name, but wholesalers, when they lock up properties and don't perform, that's the number one reason wholesale gets a bad name, because they're kind of wasting people's time. You know what I mean? So we have to know our buyers. We have to know what they're buying. Say again?
Kinda.
Yeah, very much so. I guess. Yeah. So you got to know what your buyers are buying at, right? So, like in some areas, like for us in SoCal, for example, we have buyers in the 70s, 71, 72, 73, 75%, which is really high, but they're buying in an area that's really hot, and they've got multiple projects happening at the same time. So they're able to buy at that price. In other areas, we need it a lot lower. We need it like in the lower 60s. So we know that if our
price points make a difference.
Yep, 100%.
Replacing a kitchen, a bathroom in a $200,000 home isn't that big a difference from the $1 million home. So we have more to work with at higher price points.
Okay. So the percentage of the ARV, if we can get down to 65, that will be the best deal, basically, right? That we probably won't have too much problem finding a buyer, meaning.
Look, I had a buyer tell me today he wants 65% of ARV, less repairs, and I pretty much laughed at him.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Don't expect me to go looking for that for you, you know.
So Louisa,
Okay.
you and I can tell we're kindred spirits. You're analytical, and you want a very definitive answer. But the problem is, or I should say the obstacle is that it's respective to the market. It's contextual to the situation, right? So as much as I would love to give you this really oversimplified formula, it doesn't work. You know, what's going to help you guys get, number one, more deals is having a real understanding of this, because I can break this down verbally to somebody while I'm on the phone. And if I can explain it to them in such a way that's palatable, so they know, number one, this guy knows his shit. Number two, he's making sense. This is an investment opportunity. And he's explaining it to me so I can understand it and convey that to my seller. Then you might have a chance at the negotiating table to get them to break on price, if they've agreed that they do want to work with an investor, right? So that's why it's so important to know this. And then also on the other end, if you get this wrong and you're out there and you're trying to dispo these deals to buyers, they're going to look at your first deal and they're going to be like, whoa, that's way off. And then every other deal is going to have a specific flavor once it hits their table, right? They're basically
right.
going to be like, you know, you keep bringing me these deals that don't have any meat on the bone, and it's the, you know, it's, so you got to make sure that you're basically you're dancing between two parties, and so that's why we put these two
Okay.
numbers. Yeah.
Okay, and then one last question. What's your criteria on the MLS when you do your search? Because you would prefer to reach out to the broker right away instead of like looking for those that's 30 days on the market.
Yep.
So what are your criteria in order that you can, you know, basically offer them the seller a good price at the same time you can, you know, wholesale it off in a yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's real simple. We know what our buyers are buying, right? So again, you got to know your buyers, but for us, it's single family homes in the counties that we're working in. And so when it comes to the MLS, I mean, I work with agents, right? And we do a lot of agent outreach, and they'll tell me, well, I can bring you properties on the MLS. And I usually say, well, we were kind of already got that under control. We like to work with the listing agent. But here's what I'll tell you. If it's 14 days or older, it's not a deal. Most of the time, it's not a deal. Why? Because it would have gone under contract by now. So like going after something that's 60 days on market, the seller might be changing their stance a little bit. But for me, I'd rather focus on finding off markets and with properties that are just hitting the MLS than going after properties that were like 90 days on the market, 180 days on market. So not to say that you couldn't call that agent and be like, hey, I'm a serious buyer at 713. What kind of offers have you gotten? And then they'll tell you the story. Well, if they don't get 800, they're not going to sell. Okay, great. Then I'm never going to call you on this opportunity again. Or will they change their stance in the future? Great. Let me know when they're at 713.
Right. So that
Because
means your property, the one you're looking at, is actually kind of run down. It's not, it's all, it's like, it's a little lipstick flip, basically.
Your alarm went off. I hope
Yeah, sorry.
there's something important about to happen.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, so because if you are looking at properties like so early on, so are you looking at those that it's flipped, or it's actually a bit more run down, so then the buyer can actually make some renovation, like become a buy and flip for them, or what's your criteria though? I mean, although I understand that you have different buyers on the
You
pocket,
never
though.
know what the seller wants or what their motivation is until you call, right? So the question isn't, what am I looking for? The question is, who am I looking for?
Yeah, when you're wholesaling, typically selling to flippers.
Right. But I'm also looking for motivated sellers, right? And so what I mean by that, Louisa, is that
Luis is asking, are you looking for rundown? Yeah, you're looking for distressed properties.
yeah, but you also have to understand, like,
Flippers can add value to.
this is rare, but like dated properties that the seller's really motivated to sell at a great price, you'll find those types of deals. So what I mean is that if you look at this house, right? I mean, it's not in horrible shape. But it's definitely a fixer, right? So for me, this is it needs a renovation. So I'd call on it just to see. But really the most important pillar is what? Guys in the chat, what's the most important pillar? Thank you. Luke got it right away. Motivation. Luke's been paying attention. I appreciate that. So what's the motivation? Why are they selling? What's the timeline? Those things are going to tell you if this is an opportunity or not. So yes, I am looking physically for fixers, but what's more important to me is where's the seller's head at?
Okay, any other questions? Because we're coming up on 4:30 pretty quickly here. We got a couple in the chat.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what you had. Joe was asking, what was the distance radius that you use for privy for comps?
Yeah, 0.5 miles, guys.
0.5.
But it depends.
I'll start at a 0.25 and see what comes up, and I'll move it from there when I'm copying on the MLS. And I set 6 months as my standard look back. unless there is a dramatic market change that I knew that just happened. So like right now, I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing upticks in property values, and I'm convinced it's happening. I'm getting confirmations from other people that the market's been moving back up again after drifting down for the last year. So I'm, and I think that has to do with lack of inventory right now. There's so much pent up demand that people are, okay, I'll buy something that needs fixing where they wouldn't 6 months ago, 10 months ago, or I'll pay a little more to get that pristine property because I'm not coming up with what I need. I can't wait any longer. Do you see that, Patrick?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to put a video in the chat that we went over market data and how to look at it, how to find it, and how to interpret it. And it's an interpretation, guys. Nobody knows where the market's going, but you can see trends, and the more you look at the market, the more you'll be able to identify that. But it's important to see where things are going. All right, guys, let's cover some questions. I only made one call today, man. I felt like I was coming into this meeting like a sales shark. You know what I mean? Like I was feeling like Wolf of Wall Street when we first started.
Next time, put your dorsal fin on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I only made one call, and he didn't even pick up the freaking phone.
He's talking to me.
What's that?
No, my name's AJ. I just heard you say something like, AJ, pick up the phone. But no, that was for your call earlier and where you texted.
Right.
I'm not getting any video for you guys, but anyway, yeah, I don't know if you got a second. I was actually calling because I'm wondering if there's a way to.
Oh, you muted yourself, buddy.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I was just calling. I'm mostly on here right now because I'm trying to source leads for a wholesale deal to buy for me and my team. And I know that this is a place where people are finding them, and I imagine some people are wanting to dispo them. And so yeah, I just wanted to check in, and that's what I'm definitely really interested in here, and hoping you guys might be able to help with that as well.
So you're an end buyer. You're looking to purchase properties to flip.
I'm an end buyer looking to purchase properties to keep. I'm looking for like an apartment building to cash flow.
Oh, okay. So you're looking for like maybe creative opportunities.
Well, maybe. I mean, we've got like 200 to 500,000 to put down. So creative, yes. I mean, a bigger deal would definitely have to be creative. I'm looking at a 60-unit apartment building right now that they're wanting 10% down. So that works all day long if the numbers are good.
Right. Cool. Where are you buying?
We're open. We just aren't looking to be necessarily in the hottest part of the country. We're looking for maybe north of like Oklahoma, from coast to coast.
Okay. Well, here's what I would do. I'd definitely come to these meetings, be a squeaky wheel, and put your buy box in the chat so people know.
Definitely will do that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get in for like a week or two, and I finally figured out that the Zoom link didn't have I mean, I kept trying to log in, and it was a Zoom login, and I didn't have it set up on my Gator Astra flipping sub-2 email, so I kept trying to log in with that. Anyway, I'm glad I'm finally in.
Well, welcome, AJ. Join us
Yeah.
when you got a good connection.
He's giving you a hard time, AJ. Thanks for hanging out with us, buddy.
All right.
Next video.
Veronica has a question.
Hi, thank you guys. This is great. I was excited when you were looking at Santa Clara County because that's the county I'm in. But I don't have a deal, but my neighbors are in a pickle, and they're they're asking me if I could help in any way. And because I'm so new, I don't know. And I don't know if you guys can take a look at it and see if there's anything they can do, but they do have a situation where they took a loan out last year. They're trying to sell it and they would be selling it at like $100,000 loss.
Those are my favorite types of situations. I'd love
Like
to
a
purchase that.
potential sub-2 deal.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have the address and I have the information from them if you want it.
Why don't you give it privately?
Okay.
Yeah,
Post
can
it.
you shoot it to me privately? And then what I'll do is I'll share what information I can with the group in terms of how I would assess it.
Okay, let me send it to you.
And as usual, I don't have my whiteboard up. I need to really get my act together if I'm going to be, educating people.
Well, I think you're doing pretty good.
Okay, well, I
don't know
appreciate
what
it.
happened to your whiteboard, but I really got a hard stop in a minute or two here.
Okay,
Maybe you can get that information from Veronica and give her a call.
yep.
We can work on it together if you want. We ultimately will anyway, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
100%. So
The address?
do you know what they're trying to, yeah, I see it here. Do you know what they're trying to get out of the property?
They have it listed for 1.6 and they have an offer at 1.6 now. Well, they had it listed higher, but they couldn't get it. There was just nobody looking at it. They dropped it down. And I think, let's see, they have an offer finally at 1.6, he said tonight. It is an adjustable rate mortgage, 7-1. He has 6 years left on it at 3.75. He owes 1.3. And his mortgage is $61.50 a month. The agent fees is 4%, 1.5 for the selling agent, and 2.5 for the buying agent.
No, it's
Well, if
probably the other way around. The selling agents are usually keeping.
2.5. Okay.
All
maybe
right, so
backwards.
let's promise to call Veronica on the phone, or do you want to keep this going?
Honestly, I generally don't want to assume adjustables.
Yeah, that's
We
why.
might find somebody who will. Wait, I muted you by accident, Patrick.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I was trying to pass host back to you.
I thought I got in trouble for a moment there. We could talk about it. We might be able to find somebody to sign it to, but personally, I don't assume adjustable rates. But I don't specifically have a buyer for this right now, just full transparency. So that being said, are they motivated to let somebody assume this loan subject to?
Yes.
They are.
Asked him, I told him that I had a friend that was interested, which is the truth, because we just had friends staying here that used to live across the street and they moved to Arizona and they want to move back. So
Okay.
I was looking at it for them, but the monthly payment of $61.50 is too much for them to assume because they're retired.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Mm.
So what I would say, and we can follow up on this, but so let me ask you this one last question before I let you guys go. Are they aware of how subject to works?
Yes, I explained it to them and they said, as long as I trusted whoever was doing this, they would be willing to do it.
They would be willing to let somebody assume the mortgage
Yes.
that will remain on their name.
Yes, the mortgage that remains on their name, but the
Okay.
deed goes to the
Right.
buyer. Mhm.
Okay, fantastic. Well, let's do this. I'm gonna give you my cell phone.
Okay.
Just shoot me a text.
And mine is on my thing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm no longer openly giving my number away.
Okay.
I've learned the hard way not to do that. But yeah, I'll see if we can help you out. We've done these types of transactions before, so we're 100% confident in that. The one thing that will be a challenge is finding somebody who has the spending capacity and the risk tolerance for that type of output.
Mhm.
Okay, but yeah, we will definitely. I'm glad that you brought that to the meeting. All right, guys, Gary has left me. Before I go, any other questions? I'll give you guys just one
Yes.
more chance. Oh, Chris, what's up, dude?
How are you, man?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Good, good. Quick and easy one. As a
Okay.
beginner in comping properties, for the most part, would you go with privy or go with prop screen? If you,
It depends. It depends on the market. Because for whatever reason, prop stream and privy, they have varying data. They're not always great. What I've noticed is that prop stream doesn't always have great MLS data. And privy can have like very little data in specific areas. And then some areas it's fantastic. So I think it just depends. We use privy for buyers mainly. That's a great tool to find buyers. And we use it to comp, and we use prop stream to comp and also to look at mortgage and transaction history. So it's really good with mortgage and transaction history. So maybe one day we'll have one program, but for now we're using multiple programs. And then I'll also use Redfin just to do quick comps like that as well to see what's on there. And nothing beats the MLS because you'll have, especially if it's active, you'll have agent notes. So find an agent that you can become friends with. And you also might need representation as well. Like if there's an agent who doesn't want to write something up for you, or they don't want to refer you to another agent, and you have to find representation. So it's always good to have an agent like Gary in your back pocket.
sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, of course. All right, guys. Yes, our next meeting is Wednesday, same time. I don't see any questions in the chat or any hands raised. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We will see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.